Los Angeles, I'm and most Hollywood nights. She goes to California, oh, California.
What you say about Los Angeles?
LA got the people saying,
You're listening to Corner of the Galaxy on cornerofthegalaxy.com. It's time for another episode of Corner of the Galaxy from the Box, the show that gets you behind the scenes of the LA Galaxy and into the minds of soccer reporters and MLS experts. Your hosts for the day are Corner of the Galaxy's Josh Guesman and LA Times soccer reporter Kevin Baxter. Let's start the show. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Corner of the Galaxy from the Box on cornerofthegalaxy.com. I'm your host, Josh Guesman, coming to you on Monday, July 28th. The LA Galaxy got all dressed up and then had nowhere to go on a Friday night. A 4-hour weather delay sees the LA Galaxy's game postponed. We'll talk about what happened behind the scenes with all of that. We have a little bit of information to share with you. Make it a little bit more interesting as that game now gets postponed back to September. Of course, we also have to talk about Leagues Cup that's coming up, the wacky, weird schedule that is going to have you guessing about what the LA Galaxy need to do in order to advance in Leagues Cup and get one of those 3 coveted Concacaf Champions Cup spots that they're looking for. What big chance for hardware for the LA Galaxy in a very, very difficult tournament to win. So we're going to talk about that. Might be a little bit of a shorter show, but that's okay. Helping us do all this, we're glad to have him back. It's Mr. Kevin the Panda Baxter. Kev, how you doing, bud?
Hey, do you know how close you came to doing these shows for the last 10 years by yourself?
Yeah, like how close?
Well, I'll tell you. Here's
Okay.
a story that'll bore you to tears,
Yes.
but we'll answer that question. Back in the day, long time ago, before you were born, I actually I applied to be a lay missioner with the Catholic Church. This was a different Catholic Church than today. This was after the Second Vatican Council.
Okay.
Pope John the 23rd had a preferential option for the poor. It was an exciting time in the Catholic Church. The Jesuits and the Augustinians and the Franciscans were all over Central America, working in communities, trying to alleviate poverty, social injustice. That's what I wanted to be a part of. So
Right.
I applied to be a missioner, and I went to Maryknoll, New York to interview. And after about 11 minutes, they said, "No, get out of here." They said, "We're going to send you to Peru." That was where you were going to go. But if you didn't cure poverty in the first weekend, you were going to go crazy. You're way too high strung. And this is a job that requires patience. You can't do this. Please go home and do Corner of the Galaxy or whatever.
Yeah,
anyway, I was thinking about that because, there was a Father Provost and an Augustinian priest who went to Peru to work with missioners on poverty issues at the same time I would have been there.
Right.
He is now Pope Leo the 14th.
Right.
It got me thinking, if I had been there at that time with him,
Yeah. He
maybe
never
Pope,
he never would have
Pope
been
Panda
Pope.
the First. Pope Panda the First. I would be Pope Panda, and I would not be doing this show.
Oh man.
So quirky thing, huh?
It is definitely one of those weird ones for sure. So
What do you think of Pope Panda? I like that.
Aaron asked, so Kevin, would that mean you would have been in a missionary position? This is a family show.
I knew
Aaron.
someone was
This is
going to go there.
This is a
Yeah.
family show. Thank you. I appreciate it. Speaking of godlike torrential rains, I'm trying.
Good transition. Nice segue.
I am professional.
Well, tell everybody, we were thinking about actually just putting a graphic up. This show had been delayed.
Yeah, by weather, just have
Inclement
rain
weather,
coming
yeah.
down. Yeah, and just play that for 4 hours. Would have got the same number of views as the LA Galaxy there. Can you remember off the top of your head having a game postponed like this? We don't have to go too far back to the very first game of what would have been 2023 season,
The Rose Bowl game,
the Rose
yeah.
Bowl game that ended up not being played that very first game because they had all the rains. But that was ahead of time. We knew ahead of time that game was going to get canceled. It rained so hard, torrential rivers coming down all sides of the Rose Bowl, all those things. It was flooding. We had a pretty good idea that wasn't going to happen.
another one that actually comes up. There was a preseason game that was supposed to be played down in Orange County at the little where Orange County Soccer Club plays at their little stadium.
Beautiful stadium.
Yeah,
I love that stadium.
nice little stadium, right? And I think
Championship Stadium.
I think the Galaxy were going to play San Jose in that, if I remember, and that it rained so hard that field was underwater the day before, and so that one got canceled.
I remember a preseason game at the Diggity with Seattle when it was. Remember that game?
There was that one. Do you remember when we did a podcast and it was Thunder and Lightning? And that was not Seattle. That was Toronto, if I remember correctly. Toronto, right? So that I remember that they ended up playing that game, however. It was just Thunder and Lightning beforehand whenever it started. So, but I'm trying to remember if there was a game where we sat, Kevin, either in LA or on call and had a game that just disintegrated in front of us where it wasn't going to get played.
The thing that's not important for us, it is important they let the fans know. I think that, the people that paid to get in. But you were talking to some players, and I think the real important thing for the players is, and the coaching staff, is to know what is going on. Where are we? Give us a window to prepare ourselves mentally, physically, to stretch. And as that thing goes on and on and on, you really start to lose some of that edge. And I don't know, I'm not a player, but
really?
I think probably
nobody ever confused you for a player. Me neither.
I think, 2 hours might be okay. 3 hours. When you're getting up to 4 like that one was, you're really not going to have a crisp game. I mean, everyone's tired. They've been there. They've been kind of wired. They've come down a little bit. There gets to be a point where it's like, just bang it. Let's just go home and we'll try another day, because it's not going to be a good game.
Certainly. Now, that wasn't the case. This was, if they could have gotten the field to be played there in that last, hour that they were trying to get in, again, a 4-hour basically delay. That game was supposed to start at 7:30 Central Time. So we're talking into the 11:30s, which is where we were going. If they could have gotten that field ready to play, they would have played that game that night, right? They could have. Eventually that ended up not happening. And so what the weather eventually, what we think happened basically was about almost 4 inches of rain looked like it fell on the stadium in a short amount of time. So a tremendous amount of water. In fact, if you take 4 inches of rain and evenly distribute it over a soccer field, Kevin, it's 175,000 gallons of water that you have to get rid of in order to move that out. People were talking about, didn't Houston have pumps underneath the field? I don't know what Houston's field is built on top of. Certainly it can absorb some water. 4 inches in a short amount of time is a lot of water you're trying to absorb, even whenever you have pumps and everything else. If you have 175,000 gallons that gets dumped on it, and that's just from if it fell directly on the field, not counting all the stuff that comes down from the stands and maybe comes onto the field and does some other stuff. So I don't think there's any blame in Houston on this one. It was probably just bad luck in terms of weather. And looking at that, but it was interesting. Here's how it went on behind the scenes, by the way. When the Galaxy pulled up in their bus to get off the bus, it was pouring. It was absolutely pouring. It was coming down sideways. And so, there was some idea that there was probably going to be a little bit of a delay in this. First of all, delay from lightning, right? Because we know that if there's a lightning strike within a certain distance around the stadium, then as soon as that lightning strike goes off, as we saw in the Colorado game, whenever we had the delayed weather last time, I think you have to wait a half an hour, basically, for another lightning strike not to strike within that distance of the stadium. So it constantly resets clocks. So that was happening for a little while, where we were getting lightning and it was sort of resetting and going over and over again. But basically what MLS does and what the officials in Houston do and all this is they update every 15 minutes, right? So it's 15 minutes, 15 minutes, 15 minutes. So sometimes in the 15-minute update, they can say, hey, listen, we just had a lightning strike, so we're down for another half hour, right? And everybody knows, but in 15 minutes, they'll be like, hey, we still have 15 minutes until that expires. And then it was like, okay, we've had no lightning strikes. So eventually that lightning cleared out. No problems. It looked like there was clear weather behind it, which is actually what you saw for the majority of the time whenever you were watching, some of the video and some of the weather, some of the stuff that was coming in. But it was one of those things where you were starting to sort of say, okay, this is looking pretty bad. In fact, we can bring up a graphic. I pulled this one from the Houston Dynamo and FC France, because they have a France. Of course, they have a France channel there. But we can pull this picture up that was taken at the stadium. And you can see the place is underwater, for most of the field is there. So this was right whenever it was pouring. This was right whenever you were sort of getting the heaviest parts of it. And this is probably about as bad as it got on this. So what we saw afterwards, Kevin, was field crews going out there. They were trying to aerate and poke holes in places. They were trying to squeegee water off places. They were trying to make sure that they get, trying to get the water to get off the surface as much as possible. And they actually, a couple of times, if you kept watching the video and the pictures, it actually looked like there was no more water on top of the field. But then inevitably you'd see somebody out there with the soccer ball trying to throw it up. So the whole idea is that a ball needs to bounce whenever you're on the field, right? There's certain conditions that will make the field unplayable. One is if like you kick the ball, Kevin, and it goes in a puddle and it like stops, that's considered an unplayable condition.
I saw the women's national team play in San Diego. I think they played Canada, and it was a day like that bad, but similar. And someone make a really nice a leading pass, and it would just stop.
Yeah.
And it really wasn't a soccer game anymore.
No, it is pretty fun. It's funny to watch whenever it happens, but that's one of the things that can stop and make a field unplayable. Another thing they can do is they throw the ball up into the air, and I know we've all seen this video, but they threw the ball up in the air, the referees did, and whenever it comes down, it's supposed to bounce, right? Well, it doesn't bounce because there's water just under the blades of grass, so you can't see the water, but whenever the ball comes down, you see the splash, and the ball doesn't bounce at all. That was the indication. So, what we knew basically was the players got there, the coaches got there, they went into the locker room, and then I want to tell you that for the entire 4 hours for the LA Galaxy, that whole delay, everything that was going on in probably pre-4 hours because they got there ahead of time, right? So maybe upwards of almost 6 hours, they were in the locker room. At no point did they go outside. At no point did they think that they were going to get ready to play. At one point, they told them, I think we're maybe getting ready to play. And then 15 minutes later, they're like, no, we're not ready to play, right? And again, so we talked about MLS updating every 15 minutes. The players were in that, Kevin. They were getting updated every 15 minutes. So you have players who are ready to play a game, all jacked up, ready to go. And then they're told, we're not going to start yet, but we're going to update you in 15 minutes. And then 15 minutes. And then 15 minutes. And it just draws out and drags out. I talked to one player. I said, what were you guys doing in there? And somebody else told me this as well. They were in there watching other games. Right. So there's other soccer games going on. So they're in there watching other games, watching, MLS 360, trying to watch some of those other teams play, do that type of thing. They're drinking mate. All right. They're hanging out. We saw some of them did some TikTok videos, like that type of thing. So they're in there. But the bottom line is that they sort of kept themselves as ready as they could be for 4 hours. And it's just, if you imagine you have a public speaking engagement, I think this is about as close as you and I can probably get, Kev. We have a public speaking engagement. We're supposed to speak in front of, a couple thousand people, maybe 4,000 or 5,000 people. You're all amped up. You're ready to go. And they tell you, wait, hold on for 15 minutes. And you're like, okay, no problem. I can hang on for 15 minutes. And you're doing it. Then it's another 15 minutes. And then it's another. You know how fried you'd be by the end of those 4 hours?
You get that adrenaline going, and you get mentally ready. It's not so much the physical thing, although after 4 hours, I think physical part was a problem too. But you get that adrenaline going. You're kind of pumped. You're ready to go. You've studied the film. You know what you're going to do. You want to get out there on the field, and all of a sudden you can't even leave the locker room. So the question then becomes, I think for a lot of people, is why did it drag on 4 hours? Why not just saw the weather report? Why not just bang it, go home? Well, it's the same thing. It's the same answer to just about every question you have. Money. The Galaxy spent about $80,000 to charter there. Now they have to do that again. They spent I don't know how much in a hotel. They're going to have to do that again. I don't know what Houston's situation is on giving back tickets, whether fans can get a refund or if it's just a rain check.
They would. I imagine that what they'll have now is tickets for that September. What was it? September 2nd game or September 6th? I have it here somewhere. Here it is. The September 6th game, right? So Saturday, September 6th is whenever it gets rescheduled.
But so you can go to that game, but let's say you came in from Dallas or somewhere else to see that game, and you're not going to come back. Does Houston have to refund you? And back in the day, and it's not a problem now because this was an MLS. An Apple TV game. So there was, but CBS or NBC or ESPN would be holding airtime, and that's money too. Advertisers have paid for that spot. So it all comes down to money. This is probably $300,000 maybe a hit when you consider charter flights now both ways, hotels, maybe some of the ticket revenue, some of the other things. So that's why they wait 4 hours and give it every chance to get it in, because it's expensive.
Well, and you don't want to reschedule inside of like the MLS, season, right? Because that gets difficult to do as well. There's not as many times. They were able to find a spot for this game, which, isn't horrible, but it's now adding to a more condensed schedule and some other things can sort of happen.
We don't know about these teams. I mean, Ricky Puig could be back for the Galaxy. They were going to play without Gabriel Peck and Maya Yoshida. Presumably both those guys will be back. What if someone adds someone during the window, Houston or or the Galaxy. All of a sudden, it's a different game than it would have been if it had been played last Friday.
Yeah, the other part of this is that because we did have a starting lineup, so let's go over that starting lineup. It doesn't mean anything, but I just thought it was interesting. Mitrovic, Cuevas, Garces. So Cuevas getting a start, we thought that would probably happen. Cuevas, Garces, Zonka, and Aude. Remember, we had Maya Yoshida was out for this game, officially ruled out. Gabriel Peck was out for this game, officially ruled out, especially with the 3 games coming up in Leagues Cup, Thursday, Sunday, Thursday. So Greg Vanney resting some guys and also letting some guys recover a little bit. You had Cerrillo, Sanabria, Royce. You had Fagundes, Paintsel, and Nascimento, right? So that was the lineup. Now, if for some reason this game started in the first minute and then it had thunder and lightning and everything going on, the lineups would have to stay relatively the same, to my understanding, right? If the game starts, then you have
because that would be a substitution.
Yeah.
Even if a guy gets hurt, like in the subsequent game, and say it's Sanabria gets hurt and he can't play,
right? Well,
whoever you put in for him, that's a a substitution for injury.
Yeah, so if the game would have started, it would have mattered. Because it didn't, they're both allowed to put in whatever lineups they want whenever they go back for the September game. So that's not going to affect anything. But just a weird day. Again, I don't remember waiting that long. It was funny because I ran home because I was working. I ran home. My wife had somewhere to go, and I was going to watch Jake, and he's like, hey, I want to stay up and watch some of the Galaxy game. I'm like, you can for a little bit, because it was going to creep into a little bit of a later time for him. So I'm like, hey, buddy, they're not even playing. I go, so it looks like we're just going to have to go to bed. So he was all disappointed. And then I sat in this room where we are, because this is where I watch my games and do all the reporting and stuff like that, and was texting poor Kevin Acevedo every, 30 minutes going, so they're going to play a game? He's like, they'll update me in 15 minutes. I'll let you know. The whole day. And it wasn't his fault. That's how it was for everybody. It was just over and over and over again. I can tell you that the LA Galaxy did spend the night in Houston, right? And then after they spent the night in Houston, they left, I think, at 9 a.m. on Saturday morning to fly back. So they ended up spending the night there and then flew back, and now they're back to training and doing all that stuff. So, there are some of our wonderful listeners actually went. And so I know people were there and got rained out and doing all that stuff. We actually have some listeners who live in Texas as well who decided once they saw the weather report not to go down there. And so was sort of like, no, I'm not going down there. It's going to get nasty, whole deal. So there was a tropical system sort of coming off the Gulf and then going over Houston, and that's why it sat there. It dropped a whole bunch of rain, and then it cleared out. But even on Saturday and Sunday, there were also chances for thunderstorms. So people were asking, why did they just play it Saturday or Sunday? And again, that sort of went into, that's not going to happen just with the weather the way it is. So maybe the Galaxy dodge a bullet, don't have to play in Houston whenever it's hot, whenever it is muggy. Although if they could have played right after the thunderstorm, it was actually 77 degrees, and I think the wind was blowing. It was almost, I think some people said that they were cold, right? And so doing the whole thing, going through that whole process, now they could either get to go back in September, as you were saying, or maybe they get a refund for that game. But still, an interesting thing. I don't remember a time when we sat and just waited for a game like that. Maybe there was the Austin delayed game that happened that eventually got played, and I think was this some stupid score like 3-3? And so you sort of have those. I remember a Dallas game that got delayed. They were playing, and I think they had to stop it, and eventually eventually they got to replay that game or play it later that night, and that was a delay. I think that was one where a Dallas player tried to cross the ball, but the wind blew it into the goal for a goal, because weird things happen in Dallas. Weird things happen in Texas is sort of the LA Galaxy's motto. Anytime you go to Texas, you don't know what the weather's going to be.
Well, and so they lost 3 days, essentially. They flew on Thursday. I assume they worked out early, but they did a walkthrough or some sort. Then they flew on Thursday. Friday, they couldn't work out, couldn't play, couldn't do anything. Saturday, they couldn't do anything. So, I mean, maybe that's a good thing. At this point of the season, probably rest is as important as training. But they did lose 3 days. They were away from their families for that time. It's just, and they got nothing out of it, and they have to go back and do it all over again.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting one to sort of watch how that affects everything. Again, You were right. No Maya Yoshida, no Gabrielle Peck. You know, for the Galaxy, you're hoping that, you know, you have that back, and maybe, like you said, maybe even Ricky Pooch in September. So maybe that's a better chance for the Galaxy in terms of league wins and everything else. But as it stands right now, the game rescheduled to September 6th. At 5:30 p.m. Pacific time, so a similar start time to the Friday, just in Saturday and in September. The Galaxy had a little spot there that they were able to take care of. And then you go into the standings. In the standings, the Galaxy did drop in the standings because, you know, not in the Western Conference because they're in the same place, but Montreal in the overall. Montreal actually won their game, was able to get up to 18 points. Now the LA Galaxy back into wooden spoon spots, down at 16, but with a game in hand, which is crazy to say for a team that has a total of 16 points through 24 games. Still just 10 games remaining, and now we get into a part of the schedule, Kevin, which is Leagues Cup. And Leagues Cup is going to be rapid fire, 3 games right out of the gate. And depending on how the LA Galaxy do in those 3 games, and depending on how other MLS teams do in those 3 games, then we can possibly start talking about what happens. But if we go, we're going to talk about Leagues Cup and what that tournament means, how that tournament is going to be played. And then we can also talk about, you know, what the schedule is after all this. So let's look at the after schedule right now. So let's say the LA Galaxy get through Leagues Cup. Let's pretend they don't advance. That way it makes everything easy. We'll tell you what happens if for some reason they did advance. But the LA Galaxy hosts Seattle on August 10th, right? So that'll be another league game. And then we've talked about this. It's almost been forgotten many times, but the Galaxy will travel to Miami on August 16th. And then they come home and they host Colorado on the 23rd of August and host Dallas on the 30th of August. This is the time in the schedule, Kevin, where you finally see those guys, the Galaxy starting to play their home games that they have sort of been missing throughout this whole season. So there's a good stretch of home games here for the LA Galaxy to maybe get a little momentum. Even if you count Leagues Cup, maybe they can find something that then leads them into, you know, the rest of the season. But going to Miami on August 16th is not going to be exactly one of those games where you're like, oh, that's easy, no problem. You know, the Galaxy have
well, with Leagues Cup, 4 of their next 5 games are at home.
Yes.
Actually, it would be more than that because Colorado. So 5 of their next 6 games are at home.
Yeah, I mean, you can look at, you know, there's 6 games even in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's 6 games in August, right? And all but 1 are at home. And then there's 1 game that's a home game, counting Leagues Cup before that as well. So you're looking at what, 6 of 7, something like that. Yeah, 6 of 7. The Galaxy get home games right now. That's going to be the best streak they're going to have this entire time. Now, we'll talk here about Leagues Cup in a second, but should the Galaxy advance, you're going to find that there are gaps in this August schedule. Not really. It's midweek gaps is what we're going to call them. But you have, you know, a weekend game with Seattle and you have a weekend game with Miami. That means that if you somehow advance in the Leagues Cup, that you could find a hole in there to play midweek. So 8-10, and then you could possibly play, you know, 8-13, 8-14, somewhere in there before you go to Miami. And then again, there's a week between the Miami game and the Colorado game. So there's a midweek game that's possible there as well. So the entire Leagues Cup.
That would really be tough for the Galaxy if they have to play a midweek game and then fly 4 time zones to Miami, play there, and then come back and potentially play another game. You know, I think those East Coast trips take a while to recuperate from.
Yeah, they do, and it would be a nasty, horrible schedule. Let's talk about Leagues Cup though. The LA Galaxy coming up on Thursday. So first of all, podcast schedule. We have a show on Monday night. This is it.
Right now.
This is what you're listening to, Monday night show. There will be a show on Friday night. Okay? So, because there's a game on Thursday night. So we can't have a podcast on Thursday night and having another game that without a game between, it just doesn't work. So I think the Hammer and I are resigned to Friday night. So come out, hang out on Friday night with Corner of the Galaxy, and we'll get you through what happened in the Tijuana game and sort of have you looking to the next game, which is going to be on Sunday. Right? So Sunday. Then we will have a Monday night show, which will follow that Sunday game. And then there will be another Friday show because there is a Thursday game again. So we're going to try to flip-flop it that way, and hopefully we can figure out a way to sort of stay in between all the games and all the Leagues Cup games. All right? So
next Monday, will we be talking about the return of Ricky Pooch?
No. Stop it.
Okay.
Don't even... You know what? I'm not going to name
He's on
names.
the Leagues Cup roster. On the Leagues Cup
you
roster.
could be named on the Leagues Cup roster. Okay, it means relatively little. Let's talk about Leagues Cup first. Leagues Cup in this year is a totally different animal, and I think
even stupider than the last one.
It's you're not wrong, but it's a different animal. And the idea behind all of this was, can the LA Galaxy or can MLS reduce the number of games for Liga MX teams in the United States as well as MLS teams? Because there's too many games they were playing.
And also take away that big 25-day break for teams that don't advance.
100%, right? So basically you're playing 3 games and a thing. Now, there are only 18 MLS teams. Let's be clear about that. Not all MLS teams are playing in this tournament. It's Atlanta, Charlotte, Cincinnati, Colorado, Columbus, Houston, Miami, LAFC, LA Galaxy, Minnesota, Montreal. You have New York City, New York Red Bulls. You have Orlando, Portland, Real Salt Lake, San Diego, who took Vancouver's spot, by the way, just in case you're playing the home game. Vancouver, you can't play in more than 2 cup competitions, and Vancouver was good. This would be their 3rd, so they're out of this one. And so San Diego, who's the expansion team, came in and took Vancouver's spot. That's how they got in there. And then Seattle.
And they all MLS teams play at home, which is why this is such a splendid tournament.
Well, no, they don't all play at home. They actually can travel and play in different places. Because if you remember the Thursday night game that the LA, not this Thursday night, but the next one is actually a doubleheader, and I believe Colorado plays in front of. The LA Galaxy get to play all their games at home because they were the 2024 MLS Cup champions and therefore seeded that way. So they get to have that as a way to go. Now, that means that all 18 Liga MX teams are on the other side. Here's the crazy thing about this tournament is that the LA Galaxy, and we'll pull up their schedule here, just so that way, again, you can see it. They're going to play Tijuana on the 31st. They're going to play Cruz Azul on the 3rd, and they're going to play Santos Laguna on the 7th. All right? Now, when they play those games, Kevin, yes, they will be competing against those teams, but in terms of points, the points will not affect the Liga MX teams. In terms of if the LA Galaxy win points, it's not like they're taking points away from the Liga MX teams. What they're doing is they're trying to add points into a table that includes all MLS teams. So the LA Galaxy play on a table, and the results table will be all MLS teams. Liga MX teams play on a table that has all Liga MX teams, right? So they are separated. You have to figure there are 2 tables here. All right, and you have to split them down the center. There's an MLS and there's a Liga MX.
But surely you get 3 points for a win and nothing if you lose in penalty kicks, correct? 3 points for winning. If you lose in penalty kicks, you get nothing because that's soccer rules.
No,
they haven't
that's
changed
not how that
have
works.
they?
No, they changed that.
Oh.
Yeah. So one is there's no extra time.
Stupid
it goes straight
tournament.
in. There's no extra time.
Stupid.
It goes right into penalty kicks. If you win in regulation, it will be 3 points. If you win in penalty kicks, you get 3 points. You get 2 points.
2 points.
Yes, 2 points. No, you're right.
100%.
If you go
to extra time,
yes,
or penalty kicks, you lose a point.
You lose a point. So you get 2 points if you win in penalty kicks. If you lose in penalty kicks, you get 1 point. And if you lose, you get 0 points. Lose in terms of in regular time, you get 0 points. Okay. So 3 points for a win, 2 points for a penalty kick win, 1 point for a penalty kick loss, and 0 points there. So again,
now tell me, how do you advance, Josh?
You have to. It's based off points, just like everything else.
And
it's based off points.
How many of the 18 teams from MLS will advance?
There will be 4 from MLS and 4 from Liga MX. That's it. So
presumably,
yes,
an MLS team could be undefeated and finish 5th, and they're out in the MLS table, and they're out.
Mm-hmm.
And a Liga MX team could be winless.
Yes.
And they would advance.
It would be unlikely that a Liga MX team is winless. I mean, like in any of these, people are certainly pointing to the tiebreakers because if you want to advance, you're going to have to win all 3 of your games. I think that's fairly safe to say, right? Like it just feels that way, doesn't it, Kevin? Now, by the way, if Liga MX teams beat up on all the MLS teams, then perhaps that's not true. Maybe you could advance with 2 wins, but you have to win by a certain goal differerential because the tiebreakers are certainly here. Let's go over tiebreakers just so we know, because these are probably going to come into effect. Greater number of wins in a regular match time, in match regular time, right? So not going to penalty kicks. So if you had 2 wins in regular time and the other one had 2 wins, but one of those was in penalty kicks, then that would be a differential there. Greater goal differential between goals scored and goals conceded by the club. I don't think the Galaxy should hang their hat on that number. But if you're going to win all 3 of your games, you probably have a better goal differential, right? Greater number of goals scored, so goals for. is a tiebreaker there, and then fewer number of goals conceded, and then fewer points in terms of the team's fair play table set forth below, or blah blah, all that stuff. Now, these are not retroactive, so once you have a tiebreaker, and once you use a tiebreaker to break a tie, if you go to the next one, you can't go back up to the number one whenever you have, like, you get back down to teams. They just keep going down the list, right? So I don't want you to think, like, if you had a tiebreaker between three teams, Kevin, and all three of them had number one and they were fine, and then you get to number two and it got rid of one of them but not two of them, you don't go back up to then, well, who had the greater number of wins between those guys again? And it's like, it doesn't go back and go retroactive, just letting you know. That's what I have.
Okay, here's the good thing. So after group play, the MLS schedule resumes. So if you're eliminated, you go right back to your MLS schedule of a game a week. So there's not that long off period, which a lot of coaches and players can complain about. If you remember, I think the Galaxy, the first year, maybe the second year too, both years, right? They were eliminated in group play. They didn't make it into the knockout stage. They had a long break.
They went to knockout. They went to knockout last year.
One game, but then they had a break. So
they won their group and then had to go away and play at Seattle. Remember, there was a big complaint about that.
Yeah, and so you don't have that long break. That's good. Give Don Garber credit for that. But I just don't like the way, an our Liga MX team, it just seems like you could advance from your league and play against a team that didn't win any games in their bracket. I mean, it's possible. So if you're saying these are the best 8 teams from North America, no, they're not. And they're not even the best 8 teams in that tournament.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and the idea here is certainly that you're trying to pit Liga MX against MLS, right? You want to have an even number in the quarterfinals, the 4 teams, right? Because you're going to have 8 teams remaining, which means there's 4 matches to be played, and then you're getting to the semifinals. There's 2 matches to be played, and then you're going to have the final match where it comes down. The idea there is that they are manipulating said brackets and said group stages in order to ensure that there are equal number of MLS and Liga MX teams. Quite honestly, I believe that probably favors MLS more than it favors Liga MX, because I think that there are certainly the Mexican teams usually have deeper rosters and usually are going to be more successful in this tournament. But as we've seen, it's the same thing that happens every year, Kevin. I don't want to separate from it because I know it's going to happen again, which is that I go in saying this is a stupid tournament.
It is.
And then I watch it and I'm like, man, it's kind of fun though. Like I kind of like watching it. Like, it's not horrible. And I know some MLS executives have said that because we saw it in some of the survey reports, The Athletic did and stuff like that. It's like, yeah, I thought it was stupid, but man, I kind of got into it once it started. And it is, but they are forcing the 4 teams and 4 teams, because if you just played straight group play, then you would actually get results against that and you would be able to figure that out. I do like the fact that you're never playing an MLS team in the group stages. Quite honestly, I think that's kind of fun. So you're not playing any MLS teams. If you're the LA Galaxy, if you're any other team, you're not playing any MLS teams. If you're on the MLS side, you only play Liga MX teams, and then Liga MX teams don't play any other Liga MX teams. They're just playing MLS. I do think that would favor the Mexican teams if you did that as just straight up group play, but because it's 2 tables, 4 sides, you're going to get 4 and 4 regardless of how that happens.
And all the Mexican teams are on the road for the whole tournament, correct?
I mean, I don't think they're playing at home. I don't think any of these games are being played in Mexico. But I do think that they tried to limit with the groups that they put them in, the travel that those Mexican teams do. I don't know that they travel between group sites. So basically, if you are in, if you're playing against the LA Galaxy in Carson, I think you get to stay in Carson for the 3 games.
Because, but that's another way I think that this is not the tournament to determine the best league that they make it out to be, because the Galaxy will play at least 3 games at home. You said Colorado may come here, but MLS teams for the most part are playing most of their games at home. The Mexican teams are on the road the whole time. So Colorado may not have its fans there when they play at Dignity Sports Park, but they're in the United States. They're at home. I guess
I don't know about that.
LAFC and for LAFC and the Galaxy, perhaps it doesn't matter because there'll be an awful lot of Mexican fans out there. But when you're talking about Minnesota or Montreal, I don't think there's going to be a ton of Mexican fans there, and I think those teams are going to have a home field advantage. Do we know how much that means in soccer?
Yeah, we will see how it all ends up. But again, split into 2 regions, and the East and West, the Galaxy and West 3. Clubs are grouped into different sets. Stakes in qualifying. As much as we've talked about Campeones Cup, and Campeones Cup is one of those things that is a one-off game. And we know it's a one-off game. And we are convinced that because it's a one-off game that it probably shouldn't have any consequences or any benefits to playing in the game. It's bragging rights. You get a trophy. Great. That's awesome. As we were talking about when we were on the phone here, I go, the Galaxy also have a trophy from the Desert Diamond Cup. All right. From whenever they played, I think down in Tucson that one time. Or maybe that was New Mexico whenever they played. But they're cups that are sort of made up cups. This one has real consequences to it, or certainly real benefits to it, which is basically it is the top 3 finishers. It is the tournament champion, it is the runner-up, and it is the third place team who all get Concacaf Champions Cup spots. So this is the only way the LA Galaxy are playing Concacaf Champions Cup this year. Or next year, I should say. So they'd have to win this tournament. If you were going to win this tournament, I would be real surprised if an MLS team can advance without winning all 3 games. That seems with 18 teams and only 4 are going to go through. It seems likely that there's going to be at least 2 or 3 teams that make it and win all 3 of those. For me, anyway. So I think that's sort of the difficult part for the LA Galaxy. I think they're going to have to try to do that. I don't know. Is there any hope? Do you have any hope for any MLS teams in this category here, Kevin? Did we lose Kevin? We seems to be coming in and out. All right, we will do our best to get Kevin back on the line here. But basically, what is happening with all of this stuff is looking at the Galaxy and trying to figure out how realistic this is. Again, it's a really, really tough, quick additions to the LA Galaxy, the schedule. And should they advance, then all of a sudden the schedule becomes even more difficult whenever everything sort of, tries to happen at the same time. And in August that already has, 6 games in it, there could be 3 more games that the LA Galaxy are trying to put in there. That would seem like a lot. So it's one of those things that we can continue to sort of look at, and we can look at as the LA Galaxy go and try to figure out is, listen, if they get hot and on a run, then yeah, maybe there's a chance that, the LA Galaxy can sort of find a way and advance in this tournament. But for me, Kevin, I don't know about you, but for me at least, I think this is an extremely tough tournament to advance or do anything. And I think it's going to come down to a lot of luck.
Well, yeah, but we know they're not going to win MLS, and they're not going to go to the playoffs. So this is their best chance. I still kind of like Campeones Cup. You made the point it's not a real trophy, but it is something. I mean, I keep thinking back to what I think is the worst season of the modern era, which may have been DC United in 2013. They won the U.S. Open Cup that year. Yeah. So, if the Galaxy, if they do get Ricky back for the knockout stage, right? They've played well recently. I see them playing well enough to advance by the skin of their teeth, perhaps. But if they get in that knockout stage, it's like Bruce Arena always used to say, there's no sport that is more susceptible to upsets than soccer. Yeah. It would take an awful lot of luck, but it's probably the Galaxy's best chance at winning something meaningful this year.
100%. We can talk about the roster and everything. The only real surprise here is certainly a 27-man roster. I don't know that you're going to see, Brady Scott is on it there. John McCarthy is on it. Tucker Lepley's on it. I love seeing everybody's middle names, which is always fun. Carlos Amiro Garces Torres, by the way. So Amiro Garces is on there. Harbor Michael Miller. This is Landon Timothy Donovan, right? That was back in the day whenever you would hear him on the Spanish language stuff.
Is he on the roster?
He is not. I have not seen him. And I know that was sort of that was mean of me to say that.
Yeah, he's like 42. He's 42 years old now.
He wrote a book, man. I can't wait to read it. I'm excited. I love me some Landon Donovan. But the big deal is the number 10 and everything that sort of got put there is that Ricky Puig was put on the roster. There's one thing I want to say that, and hopefully I'll upset everybody with these 2 statements because I'm really trying. One is that he's put on the roster and it means absolutely nothing, right? Like he doesn't have to play. This is like more, you could list anybody on the roster you want to. It's not like he's taking somebody's spot. Right. So with, having 27 people on the roster, he's fine. So he can do that. I would find it unlikely that he would be ready to play. But if the Galaxy get into some of the knockout rounds and they draw it out a little bit, I mean, we're through basically the first month. And, Greg Vanney said it was months, it was probably 2 months. Right. So we're just about passing that 1 month mark. Maybe at the end of this, by the end of August, maybe we do see some Ricky Puig. And that goes to my second thing that hopefully makes everybody mad too. Ricky Puig is going to play this season. I know there's lots of people who are out there like somehow praying down on their knees that Ricky doesn't step foot on the field because the Galaxy are a horrible whole deal. But he's playing this season. Nobody said they're rushing him. Nobody said that he's going to get a ton of minutes, but he's going to play this season, and he needs to play this season. So between those two things, I don't know that you should be excited, and I think that anybody who says Ricky Pooch is on and he's back, is just clickbaiting you. I think we can be more realistic with what that means, and to me, that means that, in the off chance that he is somehow ready to go, perhaps they would play him. By the way, they might not play him because, maybe you don't want to play him against, Liga MX teams, that type of thing. The thing that's kind of funny, though, is you're going to get to these last 8 teams, right? You get 4 and 4, Kevin, and then they're pitting each other against each other. So it's going to be the quarterfinals also still have Liga MX MLS teams, right? So they're sort of going against that. But very quickly, you could have all Liga MX teams, or you could have all MLS teams, right? And then that's it. Then now the tournament's off the rails. So,
well, I'm trying to think about how Greg Vanny would play this. I think definitely he's going to play it to win. So he goes in the first game against Tijuana, again thinking like we're thinking, best chance to get some hardware. So the Tijuana game, they play that game. Then I think the middle game is going to determine if they're unbeaten, and they haven't gone to penalty kicks. I think he plays the third game all out to win, to advance.
Yeah.
If they lose the first 2 games or they're not in a good position to advance, I'm really interested to see how he'd play that third game against Santos Laguna. Does he then start using Tucker Lempley and some of the other guys? Does he run Ricky out there and let him run around for a little bit and use that almost as a kind of a preseason game to get a good look at some guys? Well, I don't think he play if they lose the first 2 games or lose one of those 2 and it looks like they're not going to go on. I don't think they play that third game like it's the MLS Cup final. But if they have a chance to advance, I really expect Greg Vanny to stick with his starters the whole way.
If you are playing the home game, this tournament actually starts tomorrow as we go. It is that quick, and it happens very, very quickly. July 29th is when it all starts, and then you go into July 30th, the 31st. So there's going to be a bunch of games being played this entire time. The Galaxy will, of course, play on the 31st whenever they take on Tijuana at Dignity Health Sports Park.
Do you think that's going to be a home crowd for the Galaxy, or is it going to be a Mexican crowd for those 3 games?
I think it's going to be. I think there'll be a good mix, right? But usually we see somewhere whenever the Mexican teams come in, either the 50-50 or the 60-40 in terms of to the Mexican teams. Some of these games, and I don't know if these games were included in season tickets. I think some of them may have been, but that usually determines how many Galaxy fans show up, is whether or not season tickets are in there and all sorts of stuff like that. So I guess we'll find out on Thursday night. Again, podcast schedule will be on Friday. So this game sort of getting you ready for Leagues Cup, and then just basics in terms of playing against Tijuana. So that game kicks off at 8 p.m. On Thursday the 31st, so allowing everybody to get there. You can expect that it'll probably kick off around 8-10 p.m. is whenever that will actually start. So all that stuff can be found on MLS Season Pass.
It'll start at 8:10 if there's no rain.
There's no rain. It's here. When is it going to rain? It hasn't rained here in years, it feels like.
Yeah,
so.
Global warming. Yeah, everything's changed.
It's been a nice summer so far. Don't be knocking this. If this is global warming,
you just blew it. You just blew it. You don't mention that stuff.
My wife has been.
That's a jinx.
My wife refuses to discuss weather with me right now because usually it gets hot where we're at by the beach, and then we have to install the portable air conditioners, which cost us like $600 or $700 a month.
Somebody bought you a fan when you first moved.
I still have it. It is literally sitting right next to me. It's just not on because like that. You don't want to hear it. It's the whole deal. Somebody, I saw a TikTok somewhere. It was like, Dad, what games did you play on your Switch whenever you were growing up? And the guy goes, I used to pretend I was Darth Vader talking into a fan. That was my. I'm like, that's not wrong. Who hasn't done that? So anyway, we'll sort of watch how all this goes down. But yeah, the game will be on Thursday night, so that's the first one against Tijuana, and then quickly on Sunday, and then Thursday again. So things happening quickly in Leagues Cup. In the span of a week, the Galaxy's group games will be done, and we will know the results and answers from all of them.
So do you think maybe in a weird sense, the Houston game being rained out was a little bit of a help because they've got 3 games in 7 days?
It wasn't horrible. It's always one of those unintended consequences. So what's going to happen in September? And, does it, by the way, as of right now, league probably doesn't matter. So do you even care about when league games are? So probably not a big deal. So Leagues Cup, now that you have a chance and you start fresh, and this is a chance for trophies and everything else. I should mention that in this particular case, our press conferences are match day -1 instead of -2. So I believe Greg Vanny and some players will be speaking on Wednesday. Wednesday. Yeah, Wednesday. So
and then by the time they get back to Houston, I mean, I got a lot of people telling me on Twitter that I was wrong, that Cristiano Ronaldo was going to sign. So the window will be closed by. So Ronaldo will be here for the Houston replay, correct?
Yes, Chris. Yes, if that were to be the case, then yes, he would be in. I will say this: I am still very much interested to see what the LA Galaxy do. I know it's going to be quiet. I know there's not going to be a lot. I still think there's going to be something, and I'm sort of waiting to see what Will is doing. You know, the whole thing here is that as you wait later in the window, then prices either get better or worse depending on what you're trying to do, right? So. If the Galaxy are trying to move guys, and that there were people who had their eyes on certain players, then as you get closer to the window, maybe those prices jack up a little bit, so that way you can get deals done. But deals get done, and this is true in politics and in sports. Deals get done under pressure, and until there is that pressure,
court proceedings too.
But also true against in both of those, in court proceedings. But they happen under pressure, and until there is real pressure, sometimes you don't get the deals done.
Will has been really quiet lately.
Everybody's been really. I mean, listen, they don't have any money to spend. You know, you're kind of quiet. If you're going to go out with your friends and you only got $10 in your pocket, you're probably going to be pretty quiet. I'm not. You know, what are you guys going to have? I'm not having anything to drink. So I think the Galaxy are sort of in that. Just chilling.
And that's. I think that's something we all missed is why the Galaxy didn't get to play in the Club World Cup. They should have. Miami did. The Galaxy should have been in the Club World Cup. And my understanding is I heard some stuff that MLS actually was on the Galaxy side in that, but FIFA said no, we're taking Miami because they got messy. But so why was that a big deal? I mean, the Galaxy are terrible this year. It could have been really embarrassing, extra games, all that kind of stuff. You know why? Because they would have got $10 million. You're going to see LAFC very active in this window because why? Because they got $10 million.
Yeah, they also had designated player spots open and a whole bunch of other things. There's a bunch of restrictions that the Galaxy are playing with as well.
The point is the Galaxy would have really loved to have $10 million to spend right now.
I would love to have $10 million to spend right now too. So it's not just the Galaxy. I think anybody can relate to that story. So that's good. Let's go to some super chats because we have a couple here. I just want to get through them. Adam, $2 super chat. Hey, did you guys see that Gaston Brugman came to visit Ricky Puig? I did see that. Always good. Those two were pretty close together especially on the last year's team. I saw somebody saying, "Oh man, they should have never gotten rid of Gaston Brugman." And with the salary cap stuff that they were under, and a guy who only played 1,200 minutes. I know Gaston Brugman comes on in MLS Cup and ends up getting the player of the MVP of MLS Cup and all these things, but he played 1,200 minutes that year. He was not fully featured in that. And by the way, if you are a team that can sit somebody like Gaston Brugman on your bench and then use him for 1,200 minutes and use him effectively and do the things then that's a deep team. The LA Galaxy had a deep team in 2024. But up against the salary cap, it sort of made sense for him to go. So I did see that. Ricky Puig being active around LA. You're seeing a lot of Ricky Puig, more and more pictures, more and more videos. It was funny because I think I said on one podcast, I'm like, it's not like he's playing with the ball yet. And then like the next day they showed him playing with the ball. I'm like, oh, there it was. All right, good. We're progressing on and going. There was.
Well, he wasn't in LA for a long time. He went back home.
Yeah, I know. Well, I know that. Everybody knows that.
Yeah.
You didn't know that? Are you surprised that he's back now?
I did know that.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay. He's back.
Well, you said you saw a lot of pictures around LA. I'm saying you couldn't have seen any pictures of him around LA when he was in fact in Barcelona.
He would go back and forth, so you would get some of those like in LA. You would
see that's really bad to sit in that airplane for 15 hours with that knee. Hopefully he got up and walked around.
Don't you think Ricky Puig flew private jets, or he's in like lay flat business class?
No.
He's also like 5 feet long. He could probably fit inside of like
It's a lot done into private jets. Like Ricky. I know Robbie Keane flew like commercial, not first class, but flew commercial. So I think Ricky's probably in the commercial class. I don't think he's in the private plane class.
Okay.
Yet.
All right. Well, and what I'm saying is he's a good size. He fits into those airline seats.
Yeah, he's in the overhead bin, probably laying down.
He could fit there too as well. Warner says $2 super chat. Feliz cumpleaños to Don Raul. Absolute legend. It was Raul's birthday, and of course that they wished him a happy birthday, and he had 6 rings on. So as he is, that's somebody saw the picture and said that's going to be his statue in Champions Plaza. There is going to be him with the 6 rings. Yeah.
Ooh, we hadn't thought about him.
No, I mean I think about it. It's just it's not going to happen. Does he get a statue somewhere on the grounds? Yes. Will it be out in the plaza? Probably not. We're going to run out of statues if we keep giving everybody a statue. So anyway,
Don't they have like 2 Kobe statues at Staples? Whatever, the Crypt, whatever it's called now.
Yeah, I believe
they have
do.
2 statues of Kobe?
Well, I mean,
Well, and they have two teams there. They have hockey and basketball they got to take care of.
They do, indeed. All right, that about does it. I don't want to belabor this. This is not the point of it. Leagues Cup is going to come. It's wacky. Just remember that we'll sort of try to follow those points on the other table. So you're going to watch the points, and those points will be aggregated on a table, and that table will consist of only MLS teams. So the point is you have to be in the top 4 in order to transfer basically to the quarterfinals. That's it. Both Liga MX and MLS both have that accomplishment coming up. So from the weather delay, the 4-hour weather delay, the Galaxy got an extra little day off, even though they had to travel and do all that fun stuff. But now they get ready for Leagues Cup. So Thursday, Sunday, Thursday is going to be the schedule for Leagues Cup, and that will determine whether the LA Galaxy will advance there. And some difficult clubs and some difficult games coming up. But first one is going to be Tijuana on Thursday night. So get ready for that one. All right. Anything else? I think we're good.
So they flew back to Houston and back, and nobody got any frequent flyer miles or anything. It was just no hotel points, nothing. It was wasted.
They got Jimmy. Didn't they get Jimmy John's? Like, they got to stay at the hotel. They got their hotel points. Like, you get hotel points when you stay in the hotel. So they did.
Oh, okay.
So they got one night. So
maybe that helped.
Well, I mean,
does the Econo Lodge give points?
No, this is not like, the 2000s MLS anymore, Kevin. They're not staying at the Holiday Inn Express down the road. They actually stay in nice places.
I did talk to Landon Donovan about that once, and he told me they were staying like at Holiday Inns and Econo Lodges, and they had roommates, and they had the vibrating bed. We put the quarter in.
Yeah, it's good. It's good for circulation. That's what I heard. That's why it was good. So, all good. We appreciate it. All right, let's get out of here and send everybody on their way again. Monday night, Friday night will be the next podcast. So game on Thursday night, podcast on Friday night with the Hammer, then again on Monday night, and then again on Friday night for Leagues Cup as we go forward. All right. If you're looking for Mr. Kevin the Panda Baxter on any of those social media, and why would you? At KBaxter11 on all those social medias. Head on over to LA. I know. Well, I was waiting for you to say it. You didn't say it. LATimes.com for all of his wonderful sports stories. LATimes.com for Mr. Kevin Baxter over there. Find him, love him, harass him, as always. If you're looking for me on any of the socials, it's at Galaxy Podcast, cornerofthegalaxy.com. And then, of course, head on over to SoundCloud, Spotify, iTunes, any of the places that you can find your podcasts. You can find us, especially here on YouTube. Like, subscribe, do all those fun things. We appreciate it. LA Galaxy taking on Tijuana coming up on Thursday night, first game of Leagues Cup. We'll be at Dignity Health Sports Park, that game at 8 p.m. Get your tickets. We'll see you there. For Mr. Kevin the Panda Baxter, I'm Josh Pato Guesman. You've been listening to our little Corner of the Galaxy from the box on cornerofthegalaxy.com. Have a great one, everybody.
You've been listening to the Corner of the Galaxy podcast on cornerofthegalaxy.com. You can follow the show on Twitter and Instagram at Galaxy Podcast. And be sure to check out and subscribe to iTunes, Stitcher, and Facebook by searching for Corner of the Galaxy. Fans, we thank you for listening, and we ask that you be kind and courteous to your neighbors as you leave the podcast. We thank you for joining us and look forward to seeing you again. Until then, I'm Michael Araujo, and on behalf of the entire Corner of the Galaxy crew, goodbye.